Folks, today I would like to talk to you about the spirituality, spiritual experience, and social awakening. As I have been saying in many videos, if the so called God or spiritual experience do not help reduce the human suffering and make people in general happy, joyful, there is absolutely no use in that spirituality or the so called God, whatever it is. And in my earlier video, I mentioned several ways in which women were suffering because of the false notion of God. People in those days, and still they are doing it in the name of God, by bending, by modifying the notion of God in their mind to satisfy their selfish desires. They have been hurting women for quite some time and still they are hurting. I talked about that in one of my recent videos. And I also talked about the difference between the natural, eternal love of the golden light and the love that people created based on the needs, dependency, and by owning each other, by creating children, by satisfying the needs, etc., etc. They have created some kind of love because of all this in family setup. I talked about them quite a bit in my previous video, and I mentioned that that love is not real love. That love will break sometime or other. But I'm going to briefly talk about the integrated living with the love of that golden light underlying your existence and various need-based, dependency-based, ownership-based love in family life. First of all, if you created in a family setup a love based on ownership, that love will break because you can never ever own for a long time another life. That life is independent. That life, whether it's a man or a woman, husband or a wife, has its own desire, its own will to exist by itself. So you can never own. All ownership of two lives are artificial. It will break one day or another. But on the other hand, if you realize and if you own husband or a wife, realizing the golden light, realizing that love of the natural love between two human beings, that ownership will only enrich your family life. It will not break, it will not hurt. Even if you are unable to own your husband or wife, still, because of that underlying love from the golden light, you will enjoy the family. The same way, if you have created the love based on the sexual needs and the monetary needs, then that love will break, because there may be situations where the wife or husband may not be able to satisfy the sexual hunger or the monetary needs. But if you have that love of that golden light underneath, surrounding you in a family setup, then you will really, really enjoy the sexual act between husband and wife. That will add beauty to that eternal love underlying. That will bring extreme happiness between a husband and wife. And also, if you have created in a family setup a love, because you are owning a child or children, that love will not last long, because the kids will go away, separating themselves from you after marriage, their marriage. In some cases, there may not be any children at all in the family setup. But if you have that love of the golden light surrounding you, owning, creating, bringing up children will be an extremely pleasurable activity in a family setup. Even if you don't have children, still you love your husband or wife. Even after the children go away from you, you will still love the husband or wife. Even if the children are not up to your expectation, you will not blame them. You will not blame a wife or husband. You will still love them, because there is this underlying, eternal, great, joyful, golden light life, golden light based love. That's what I want to emphasize. Again, I am saying that these talks, my words, are not just based on my spiritual experience, not based on any books, but having enjoyed, having experienced, being in that great joyful state every moment of my life. Even when I'm creating this word and this video, I'm unable to smile at you so lovingly, even though I don't know who you are, whoever you are. I have that loving smile, because it's not based on the relationship created by human beings. It is based on that joyful, great, everlasting, golden light based love. Having experienced that, I have also experienced the limited love in a family setup. I never thought of leaving my family, my wife, and my child after experiencing the spiritual experiences. That thought never occurred to me. I know there are several cases. People have left the family life to pursue their so-called spiritual life. I will never advise that. That's not the right spirituality. That's a useless spiritual approach or activity that will never bring peace in that person's mind. I'll never bring, even if it brings, it will bring only temporary joy in that person's life if he or she has left the family because that person has experienced spirituality. And I don't know whether I mentioned this. My family incidents in the English version of my videos. So let me briefly say a couple of things about my life. One is that my wife she was very, very fond of male child, as all women are in general. And she wanted to have children as soon as the marriage is done, earliest possible, because she told me later these days that she was afraid that my father will find another bride for me if my wife didn't get any child. And in fact, we had a male child, but that child died as soon as it was born. The child was born when we were in Mumbai. After that, when I was with my father, as I said, my father is a gentleman, very nice person, very religious person, but immersed in old customs deeply. So he came to me and told me that it's good to have a male child because we have to have a heir for our family. So he suggested to marry another woman. I looked at his eyes and smiled. Then he just stopped. He never mentioned that proposal again in his life. Another incident also is very important. This happened immediately after we were married. We were married in a town nearby my wife's village. And after that marriage took place, as per the custom in those days, I'm not sure whether that custom is still there in Tamil Nadu or India these days. So the bride and bridegroom will go to the house of the husband, the bridegroom. And then afterwards they will go back to the house of the bride. When we are returning from my house, that is my father's house, to go to my wife's house, there was a downpour of heavy, heavy rain, and the taxi that we went stopped working. Fortunately, there was a house nearby. There was a town where we had a relative. So we went to that house, and my father told at that time, without even consulting me, he told my wife's relatives who were with her that please take your girl back to your home. I will take my boy to my home. There is something wrong. There is some remedy has to be done because there has been a lot of struggles. Even the first day after the marriage, in the name of this rain and so on. And he said that without even consulting me. And even at that time, I told him that imagine how bad, how much that woman, that my wife's heart, how much she will suffer, how much the parents of my wife will suffer. Because there was no assurance at that time that my father will bring me and my wife together. Because he said there is something we have to do, there is something wrong in the alliance according to his horoscope or her horoscope, so we have to do some remedies. My father didn't listen to me. The next day morning, I went along with my wife and her relatives to her house without even talking to my father because I talked to him enough in the previous night. He didn't listen to me at all. My father was very, very angry naturally with me, but I didn't care. For me, the suffering of a woman who has married me, we didn't even have a chance to talk to each other. That suffering, the feeling of that suffering, made me to decide to reject all the old customs, whatever they are, and went with my and allowed me, made me to decide to go with my wife to her house. I just mentioned this to you not just to boast about myself, but I want you all to understand the suffering of human beings, whatever be the reason. People should not suffer. I will reject everything, including all the gods, all the spiritual experience, to save people from suffering. And that's how I would suggest you also to live. Because ultimately, if people are not happy, there is no use absolutely in any of the social setup, whether it is spirituality or anything. There is absolutely no use. Human suffering is the ultimate test of everything in social setup, as I've been saying. Now, having said this, now I want to talk about some more new things, new social setup, especially something called country. I'll talk about two important things in the country setup or the social setup called country. One is this migration that's happening right now, and that happened in the past several years, recent several years, because the several Middle East countries, they have been bombarded by superpowers with powerful bombs. All their beautiful cities were destroyed. People died. Children, women died. They have never committed anything bad, any sin, but they suffered, they died. And they want to run away, migrate, because they have no way of living in those cities. They migrate, they want to go to another country. So all the way from Afghanistan, they walked to some European countries. They sailed in a ship, not in a ship, in a boat, in a very dangerous situation. They tried to migrate to another country. Fortunately, in some of the European countries, let them in. Of course, some of them didn't let them in. Some countries didn't do that. And it is happening right now because of the climate change that scientists have been warning for quite some time. Crops are failing. People didn't have anything to eat. I'm not sure whether you have read that in Central America, near Mexico and down south. They are all trying to migrate to America. And according to international law, if they seek asylum I was told, for genuine reasons, the country should allow them. But the current administration in America is doing everything possible to stop them, to discourage them. They are not even ready to analyze on individual basis good people, their background, and allow them to America. America is said to be a country of immigrants, but now that's not happening. Even the president is saying publicly in open meetings, he's talking about some of the government representatives elected by people to go back to their country. Similar things are happening in a different way in India. I've lived in northern India for 14 years in Bombay. I have mixed with all kinds of people, different cultures, people talking different languages in IIT Mumbai setup. And India is culturally extremely different. Though it is said that the majority of the Indians are Hindus, it is not the same type of Hinduism. In South, they believe in Shiva and Vishnu. In the North, I was told, they worship more Vishnu, Krishna, Ram, etc. than Shiva. Though there are Shiva worshippers, but there is something more than this. I've been hearing strongly that there is this Upanishad-based religion, which is sometimes called created by the Aryan race. And I was told, I don't know whether it's true or not, there are attempts, directly or indirectly, to create or to spread that kind of Hinduism everywhere in every state. And I have friends from every state in India. I can see they're culturally very different. What should happen in India, especially the government, central government, is to respect the diversity of different cultures and then let them prosper instead of promoting or imposing one kind of religion on another, one kind of culture on another, one kind of race-based culture on another race. Otherwise, people will be suffering. At some point, the country is likely to break. There were previous attempts in India, a couple of attempts I know, to separate from Indian Union. So Indian government should be aware of it. Otherwise, people are going to suffer and then break away. It's happening currently in America. The elected president, openly saying some of the elected representatives to go back to their country. Inherently, people are thinking that America is meant for only certain race and certain religion. There's a general opinion in America that if this issue is not fixed, America, as we know right now, will not exist for long. I don't know whether that's going to be true or not. Only future will tell. As I have been saying, I don't really live in the future. I live at the current moment. The current moment, the situation in various countries, several countries are creating human suffering. They are not conducive to human happiness, joy. Unless that changes, the country setup, the social structure called country will break. So, folks, I want you all be aware of these things happening in the world, especially the young people. You should think about the eternal, joyful love. As I've been saying in the previous video, you don't have to have a spiritual experience of golden light to base your family life or a life in the country on actual experience, even without experiencing the spiritual experience of the golden light. I know quite a few friends. They have realized the beauty, the love of the golden light underneath, because that is very natural to every human being. It is there underlying your very existence. If you understand this, if you realize this, that not only your family life and your life in the society as a whole, country, will be very joyful experience. I want all the youth to think about this, talk about this among you, and create a social awakening in you first and your surrounding, the people surrounding you, and then in your country. That will bring joy and peace, which the Indian tradition has been calling as the Satya Yuga. Unless that happens, the so-called Satya Yuga will be only a mirage. It will never materialize. That's what I want to share with you folks today. I'll talk to you on another day on another important topic. Talk to you soon.